Did you know that the rhythm and frequency of communication, healthy communication and interaction between co-parents can greatly increase the health of the relationship with the children or the child in that co-parenting situation? That rhythm and frequency is called cadence. We're going to get into this in our episode today. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. My name is Dr. Jerry Johnson. I am the creator of Common Sense Co-Parenting. My mission is to empower parents to navigate the complexities of co-parenting. Let's try it with clarity, compassion, and collaboration, ensuring a nurturing environment that centers on the well-being of the child above all else. If you have not caught any of my other episodes, please go back and listen to my other characteristics of effective co-parenting. I have 5 of them. I've already covered communication, collaboration, and confrontation. In our next 2 episodes, we're going to be talking about strategies and actions for how you can move through the effective characteristic of cadence, which now you know is the rhythm and frequency of how you communicate and interact with your co-parent. Typically, if you've seen any of my other episodes, you will know that I have a theme for each characteristic. So for this characteristic, we're going to talk about, oh, I want to dance with somebody. Cadence is rhythm and frequency. And if you don't know, I'm sure you guys know, it's nothing like having a good dance partner, right? Somebody that kind of moves with you, knows what your next move is going to be. Everything flows smoothly, and it's just a great thing. At the end of the night, you might be a little bit, attracted to that. But with your co-parenting situation, you just want to make sure that you're making this music and dancing together and that it's in a flow state. Like it'll get to a point eventually where you guys don't even have to communicate all the time with each other about what's going on. You'll just have this rhythm to what you do, and the expectations for communication and interaction will just be known, and you'll just go through what it is you need to go through. So let's go ahead and start with our strategies. Remember, our strategies are our framework or our plan for success, for implementing these characteristics into your co-parenting relationship. Our next episode is going to be action steps. Those help you achieve the success of your strategies. So those are things that you're going to be able to do. Right now, in this episode, we want to set the framework, the plan for how do we get a cadence, a rhythm, a frequency in our co-parenting relationship. So let's start with number 1. Number 1 is what doesn't get calendared doesn't get done. Okay. As much as we use our phones, some people don't use the calendar. As much as we have so many apps on our phones, some people don't use half the apps on their phones. Okay. But we want to make sure in our co-parenting relationship that we have a system. And that system, that process ends up creating safety, not just for you as the co-parent, but for your child. Because when your child knows, for example, my daughter knew 2 weeks out of the month she was with her dad, 2 weeks out of the month she was with me. That's school weeks. So she had consistency during the school week. On those opposite weekends, she was with the other parent. So that meant that she would spend Monday through Friday with me for school consistency. And then the weekend she would see her father. So he would pick her up from school on Friday, drop her off at school on Monday. She would be with me another whole week for school. And then we would switch out and it would be his weekend and then his week, right? So it was a little bit complicated for people who I had to explain it to, but because I was teaching, because I was an educator, I used to see kids kind of like go through moving all of their stuff midweek and trying to have backpack here, backpack there, homework getting lost, homework not getting done, something gets left at the other parent's house and all of that. So another part of our system was that my daughter had her own things, separate things, even if it was two of something at the other parent's house. So we didn't have to worry about if she left something somewhere or something like that. Especially with her just being with the other parent on the weekend, she could remember to bring certain things with her, like her backpack. If she were, going to school, she's going to school on that Monday, so she's got to take her backpack, right? So on Friday, when her dad picks her up from being with me for the week, she's got her backpack. On Monday, she's got her backpack because she's going to school. So she didn't need to have two backpacks. But as far as clothes, toys, games, all that type of stuff, she had separate things at each house. So the system that we had in place created safety and expectation. She knew the expectations of what went along with that. So if she had any type of events or the sports or what have you, her father and I made sure that we had a calendar. We both had a calendar. I made sure that we both had a calendar. That was my doing. And or it was put into our phones and a calendar invite was sent for certain things so that he can have it in his phone. Eventually, I just created a paper calendar that went to my ex-husband's house. He had his own, put it on the, refrigerator or what have you, so that it was in his face every day, so he would know what was going on. And you know what? Eventually, my daughter got into doing that when she got into high school, calendaring things for herself. Why? Because she saw us doing that as she was growing up. Calendars, for the month of what's going on in Ash's life so that both parents know, what's going on. Children are looking at that. And when you create that type of process or system for them, there's a predictability in that. And all of us like to live in predictability. All of us like to live in predictability. We like to know that certain things are happening or going to happen, or we've scheduled a date, or we've scheduled a concert. Those are things that everyone feels safe with when we have calendar things or made a date for it or what have you, even with our goals. That is a safety that comes along with that. And when it is not there, what happens with children is that they are going to feel unsafe. And when everything is unpredictable in their life, that creates something in here that creates a feeling of I'm not safe because I have nothing, I can't grab onto anything that is consistent in my life. I can't count on people, like I need to. I can't count on that I'm going to eat the next day. I can't count on that I'm going to have a house, or a roof over my head the next day. That is what we call, if it is consistent, trauma. So we need to make sure that we are creating a system that creates safety for our child. Yes, there are things that happen. I got laid off 6 times within 9-year span in my career. So my daughter and I had to move several times because I never knew what my salary was going to be. I may have had to, downsize or downgrade in a car or, budget a little bit harder, like balling on the budget. Okay. There are things that will happen unexpectedly. However, if you create that system for them where they have that safety, when those things happen and the communication happens with your child about why we're doing this or why I moved to a different space or why we can't buy that right now or what have you, it gets to a point where they understand and they become more resilient in those transitions. And as they become adults, they become more resilient when those type of unexpected things happen and they have to pivot and do something differently. So this starts early, and we need to make sure that we do number one. We need to create a system of safety by calendaring everything that we know we need to do for our child in a, in the most efficient manner. And our co-parent, anything that has to do with our co-parents attending doctor's appointments, attending school events, parent-teacher conferences, all that type of stuff, they need to have a calendar too of what's going on. Now, you could go the extra mile like I did. But this was the teacher and the educator in me, y'all. I know everybody is not like this. On the calendar, I would have educational events. I would have sport events. I would have sleepovers. I would have things that I might need to stay after school for as a teacher or a principal. Just anything that I could think of that might affect the predictability of what's going on in my co-parent's life as well. Because they need to know where I am at certain points. But on the weeks that my mom is not with me, I still calendar those events. If whether it's your week or not, you never know what's going to happen with your co-parent. And they may need to rely on you to do something. And we'll talk about that in one of our other strategies. Okay, so number one, create that system of safety by calendaring everything. Talk to your child about it. What you got to do this month? What's on your agenda? Talk to them like they're a big person. They have agendas too. They have sleepovers and birthday parties they might want to go to, and they talk to people at school and stuff like that. So just communicate. All right. Number two, this goes along with calendaring everything, and I should have probably said this first, but organization is going to be a must. And when I say organization, I don't just mean the calendar. Okay? Organization for to do that goes around whatever it is. Sometimes could be really hectic when my daughter was with me. I used to iron, pick out whatever 5 outfits for the week. Don't know which days I'm wearing them on, but I used to pick them out for Sunday afternoons or Saturday afternoons. I would iron my outfits up, match up my shoes, everything that I could do to set myself up for the week and be organized just in case something happened in the morning where she is, in a mood longer and I get back later, which means I start breakfast later and all of that. I would plan meals for the week. What we eat Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Prep food for the week. Everyone does not have this privilege. I understand that. Even if you are ordering out, where are you ordering out from? For the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Night shift. What are meals looking like? She was able to eat while she was doing her organization. When you walk in the house, there's no music, there's no playing. When you walk in the house, go to your room, put your stuff down, get your stuff gathered up for your homework, You can come on down and grab a snack. You can do homework in your room. You can do homework at the table, dining room, living room, whatever. But homework is the priority the minute we step in the house. And you don't do anything else until you're finished with it. I check it, whatever, or somebody else checks it if she's with somebody else after school. That is the type of organization I'm talking about. You have to organize yourself as the adult that child is with for a certain number of days. And I'm telling you how this helps. Once again, if something happens with your co-parent to where they are not able to keep your child on the days that they said they were able to keep it, and it does come up. It's frustrating, but it does come up. Then your child is already in that rhythm and that frequency, that cadence of what it is I do when I'm at mom and or dad's house, when I walk in the house after school. There's no going outside to play. There's nothing. There was nothing until homework was finished. And if you didn't have time to go outside to play, okay, let's try again tomorrow. Otherwise, you see your friends on the weekend. Like, you go outside and play then. So my thing is, we all can relax when things are planned. And once again, it creates safety. All that anxiety kids and adults have about certain things typically comes about when we know that we possibly have not planned for something, and or we possibly don't have a safety net for something. So we need to make sure that we organize as much as we possibly can. And we set the tone, that system, for what it is our child or children, what they do when they are with us in our space. You cannot control how the organization is in your co-parent space. Don't do that. You worrying yourself about something that you can't do nothing about, okay? What you need to do is focus on you and the organization piece. How is your home organized? And how do you want it to flow and run? What are the expectations for what it is we do on a daily basis during the school week, and what it is we can do on the weekends? You can break it down like that. All right. The third thing within that organization, which I kind of hit on already, is to schedule around your child's needs as much as you possibly can. If they say, like, my daughter was an only child, it was important to me that she got the social aspect of friends, family, all of that. She spent a lot of time with her cousins who were around the same age. I tried to make sure that she had play dates, and things. I tried to make sure she went to birthday parties that she was invited to. Sleepovers were a touchy subject because I didn't like her sleeping over people's houses. Now, when she got older, I would allow her if I knew the parents and we had a relationship and all that type of stuff. Okay. That's a whole nother thing nowadays, especially. But in the big scheme of things, once again, this falls into organization. You need to schedule around your child's needs as much as possible. This sets them up, once again, to know and understand that mom and dad, or mom and grandma, or, dad and grandpa, or whoever, they care about my needs. They care about what it is I want to do, the friends I want to have, things like that. Now, if you know they're bad friends, you don't have to schedule around that. But the things that they need, doctor's appointments, school type events that they may want to participating in. If they're having a concert or something like that, they like to participate in those things, and they like for their parents to be there. I couldn't make everyone because I was a teacher and I had my own school stuff going on, so I couldn't make everything for my daughter. But you know what? My ex-husband would go, and or my sister, her aunt would go, my sister and my brother-in-law, or my parents would go, her grandparents would go. She would always have someone there representing family, because I would tell her, well, I have an event, I have to be at school this night or what have you. And it's on the same night as your thing. I'm going to make sure that, Granny and Papa are there, or TTM, like I would make sure. So if you can, be sure that every month in that monthly calendar that you create, be sure that every month that try to, if you can, this is all I'm saying, because I know some people's schedules are, they work at night and all this type of stuff. Even if they have things going on at the school during the day, I used to try to have day activities because I knew a bunch of my parents worked at night. That gave them an opportunity to at least come to one, or two events in the school year. I would say just try to make, if you can, at least one event a quarter for the school year. That's 3 to 4 events. If you have a trimester, that's 3 events. If you have quarters in your school, that's 4 events. So just try to make something so that your child knows that that your child's needs are being met. They love to have family and friends at their events. So let me recap 1, 2, and 3 really quick. 1 was, what doesn't get calendared doesn't get done. Remember that a system creates safety for you and your child. Organization is a must. And we're not just talking about the calendar piece. Organize how you want your days to flow after you all get home from work, home from school, during the week. What does each day of the week look like? Each day of the school week should really look the same. There should be no, like, we're here, there, and everywhere. That's just chaos. And I understand that some people have organized chaos. I get that. But that is not creating consistency and safety for the child. You may be able to handle it because you're an adult. But for your children, totally different thing. And they're going to take that into how they operate in life when they go to college, or when they go to, the armed services, or when they go to a trade school, or when they go, or even if they're still living with you after high school. They are going to operate that way consistently if that's what they've seen and experienced consistently. So organize yourself during the week, Monday through Friday, weekend, Saturday, Sunday, if that's the way it's set up. If you work different shifts throughout the week, they should know on certain days, this is what we do. On other days, this is what we're allowed to do. The third thing was schedule around your child's needs as much as possible. This creates a sense of safety, once again, for your child. They know that you are going to try your best to put their needs ahead of whatever else is going on, because that's what we're supposed to do, right? The last one is a little bit controversial, and I know some people are not going to be happy with this, but we signed up to be parents when we decided to have kids. Okay. You made the decision to bring another life into this world that you are going to shape. You're going to grow. It's going to blossom into this fabulous human being. Okay. We want them to be well adjusted. We want them to, be mentally healthy, physically healthy, emotionally healthy, and if they can, financially healthy. Okay, all right. But when we signed up to have children, we also signed up to be inconvenienced. I know a lot of people probably didn't think about it that way. Oh, because we all just want the little baby, we all want legacy. We all want, just to have someone to hear after you, to take on your name and carry your name and do this and do. Okay. But it don't seem like we all want to be inconvenienced. We want parenting to be convenient. We want it to be what? We want it to be on our time, and I still want to have a life, and this is boo, this is your life. Yeah, this is the co-parenting life or the parenting life. That's your life. The minute you said you wanted to, this your legacy. Okay. Creating legacy ain't convenient. As any entrepreneur, any person who has millions or billions of dollars, nothing is convenient about creating legacy or raising children. So the fourth strategy is basically, you need to get comfortable with inconvenience. And you need to know, yes, you're going to be disappointed. Yes, you might miss some dates or some concerts or some trips or some flights every now and then. Yeah. Yes, you may not get to go to the club when you want to. Yeah. You may not, be able to take all the jobs that you want to take and all this type of stuff and opportunities, because there's a little one you need to get. I am so there with you. Fun fact about me, I waited 10 years, a decade, to move out of the city where I was from. I traveled and traveled out of the country, in the country, that knew I was not supposed to be in that city. Okay. Was going to take an opportunity, a teaching job in another state. And my daughter asked me to stay in that city until she graduated high school. Know how many years she had? 10. She was 8, going on 9 years old when I brought that up. And she asked me to stay until she graduated high school. She didn't want to leave her dad. She didn't want to leave family. She didn't want to leave friends. Of course. Now, in the state that I was in, at her age, she could actually say, who she wanted to be with. So I had no problem. And she had no problem with going with me anywhere that I wanted to go. However, she asked that I stay until she graduated high school. And you know what? I did. 10 years, y'all. 10 years. So I get it. I understand. It was totally not convenient. In that 10 years, y'all, I lost a job 6 times in the field of education, budget cuts, all this type of stuff. Do you know how frustrated and inconvenienced I was? All I can say is God kept me from losing my mind. So I understand. If anybody understands, I understand. However, it's a whole lot of us that when things don't work out, we want to flip out. They don't work out like we want them to work out. We want to flip out. Get used to that. And you can't flip out and be emotional about everything that doesn't go your way. Number one, your child is watching that. They hear, they see everything. Keep thinking they don't, because you're going to see it in them as they grow up. You're going to see you in them as they grow up. Number two, life itself is not always convenient. So if you don't learn how to control your emotions and have some emotional intelligence, it's going to be a very difficult road. Very difficult road. Number three, your co-parent, you all are supposed to be there to support each other. This is why we need to build this relationship. This relationship should be our priority. Not going out here finding somebody else, just trying to be in a relationship with somebody, introducing your child to all these people. No. Do you not see what's happening in this world? Everybody ain't gonna treat your child like you do. Build the co-parenting relationship as long as you have a willing co-parent. Build the co-parenting relationship with the person that you had this child with. That is their child. Yes, some people have children and they don't treat them right. But once again, in building this co-parenting relationship, you will know. You'll know quicker than if you don't talk to them and if you don't interact with them. So we need to make sure as the adults, once again, because we are modeling for our children, that we get comfortable with being uncomfortable and being inconvenienced. This is the life, y'all. This is the life. It can be beautiful. It can be inspiring. It also can be frustrating. And it can make you want to hurt someone. But we're not going to do that. You want to know why? Because we're going to practice and we're going to get this rhythm and frequency of healthy communication and interaction between us and our co-parent. So we both can be okay when there comes a time of inconvenience. My ex-husband and I have gotten to the point now. My daughter is an adult child, but I tell you guys all the time, in college was when we had to talk more than we did her whole life. Okay. But my ex-husband and I, even through the layoffs that I had and all that type of stuff, we got to such a point to where we both had things going on at times, and we would be supporting each other through those things. If I needed extra time to myself, he would be like, okay, if you need extra time, just let me know. I could keep her, another few days or a weekend if you need to go out of town or something like that. Same for me. If he needed his space, or if he needs, like now when he needs to take a trip, when he needed to take a trip with his wife, there were several times where Ash wasn't supposed to be with me, but it was his wife's birthday. So I'm like, okay, this co-parenting relationship thing does not have to be hard. We're making it harder than what it is. And don't get me wrong, I probably made it harder than what it was when we first started. We all make mistakes. But if you both can get in this flow, y'all, I'm telling you, it's going to be so worth it for your child. And it's going to be so worth it for you. It alleviates stress. And Lord knows we got enough stress in our lives outside of having children with someone that we're not with. Okay. we don't need any extra stress. So hopefully these strategies, this is creating a framework, a plan for you to develop the cadence in your co-parenting relationship. I hope that these strategies kind of help. And in our next episode, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a few action steps that go along with these strategies, because I want you to be able to take something away and put it into action right after you get off of the podcast. All right. So, as I always say, if you like the content, please subscribe, press the bell so that you will be alerted and notified when my next episode comes out. My episodes typically come out the last Friday and the first Friday of the month. So it's pretty consistent. I haven't gotten off track yet. Y'all. I'm coming up on 10 episodes and I'm so excited. So I will leave you with what I always leave you with. And I will see you next episode. Go out there, you guys, and co-parent with purpose.